Good evening, Denmark. Good evening, Europe. Good morning, other parts of this world. Hello to everyone who is with us right now and to everyone who will be watching our video later. Hello, Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm fine, Signe. It's lovely to see you over there in Los Angeles. I'm here in Denmark. It's evening here.
Yes, here it's morning, and I feel very, very inspired by this opportunity to talk to you and to share your deep, I don't know, knowledge, everything what comes from you, from your heart, with more and more people, because I know you are not the one who are usually on I don't know, social marketing or available with different blogs and videos and interviews or something. You are doer personality. You just do your thing and you do it at a very special level, which speaks from heart to heart.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is why today I wanted to introduce more and more people in this world with what you do.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. What a
How would
wonderful
you
opportunity.
describe to someone who would meet you for the very first time who you are and what are you doing?
Well, you asked some very difficult questions, Signe. Who am I, and what am I doing? Wow. Um, so I'm a guy who has had a deep journey within himself. And one of the key things that have opened many of the doors and brought me into a deeper understanding of who I truly am and where I've really come from has been my journey with my breath. And I found that the breath is something which is very much connected to the here and the now. So if I am aware of my breathing, I'm very much in the present moment. And after spending many years of wandering around the planet and visiting different places and many different teachers, I understand that life only happens here and now. It doesn't happen tomorrow or yesterday, but here and now. And so the breath fascinated me by its ability to be able to gently take me to places that I would not have normally gone to. It's allowed me to undo energetic knots that have been in my body since perhaps before I was born. But certainly since I was born, there are energetic knots there that have been untied and undone. It's allowed me to deepen into loving myself much, much more deeply than anything I've ever tried in my life. And it's always there. I don't have to go to get a refill. I don't have to go to the doctor to get a prescription for it. I don't need to go to the supermarket to buy anything to use it. I just simply have to take a breath and be aware of the breath that I'm breathing. And it brings me home. It brings me right into this present moment, right here and now. And in that respect, it's something I've come to have a huge amount of deep respect for. And I was so fascinated by what the breath was doing for me that I wanted to learn how to do this so I could share it with other people. And that's what I've been doing for the past 25 years of my life. I've basically been sharing the power of the breath to enable us to transform, enable us to accept, enable us to love, and to forgive ourselves at very, very deep, profound levels. So, and this is nothing to do with the mind. I mean, things happen with the breath that just beyond understanding by the mind. The mind's not capable of understanding some of the things that happen. Yet the body and the heart know. And it resonates throughout your whole being when we get to these sorts of places. So that's a little
Geoffrey.
bit about what I do with breath. Yeah.
Mhm. Can you share with us how did you meet breath work as a method for a very, very first time? How did it
Yeah.
happen?
So I had got to a place in my life. This is in my mid-30s. So I'll be 71 years old in January when the program starts, the Turning Point program starts. So I was in my mid-30s, and I got to a place in my life where I was really, really not happy with who I found myself to be. And it wasn't just sort of unhappiness with my own sense of being stuck in old patterns and old forms of suffering, but what was really, really affecting me was I could see how my stuckness, my distaste of who I felt I was then, was also that feeling I had about myself, how that was affecting the people that I love the most, my children, my partner, and so on. And so I was willing to do anything to bring about some sort of change. I even contemplated becoming a hermit and going into a monastic order, or just disappearing into the Himalayas or something like this, just to bring about that change, that shift, so that I could feel flow again in my life, feel movement. And so I was working with lots of different people. I was living in Belgium at the time. And one guy that I worked a lot with, he would get me to use different breathing patterns. And it was really, really frustrating, because as I was using these different breathing patterns, I could feel something starting to move within me, as though it wanted to be released and let go of. And then just before that happened, the therapist would change the breathing pattern. So it was like you're just being brought up and then let down again, and brought up and let down again, and brought up and let down again. So I was really, really, really frustrated with this. And in the end, we parted ways. I got the sense then that there was huge power in the breath, for me at least. And so I went off and I tried all sorts of different breathwork styles. So now there's hundreds of different breathwork styles out there now. Back then, 30 years ago, nearly 30, just over 30 years ago, there were probably 20 or 30 different breathwork styles available. And I went around and I tried them all. And some of them did a little bit, but it was like just a little bit. It was like someone was just taking the lid off, and you could just peek in and have a little look, and then they closed the lid again. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted something that was going to really give me some sort of change, a sense of movement back into, the energy that was passing through me in my life. And so I walked into this organization in Brussels one day, and there was a guy sitting there. I said, "Hey, do you do breathwork sessions here?" "Yes, we do." "What do I have to do to have a breathwork session?" He said, "Well, there's a woman in that room waiting for you." And I was like, "What?" You didn't even know I was coming, because I didn't ring up, I didn't make a booking or anything like that. I just walked in off the street. He said, "Yep, she's in there waiting for you." So I went into the room, and there was this lovely Dutch woman there, and she laid me down and she got me to breathe in the way that I breathe people now. And I knew within 5 minutes of breathing that way that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then I got the release, big time. I started to cry, and that for me was astonishing, because until that point in time, I lived from here upwards. There was nothing below this. There's no feelings, nothing. So I had no idea where this was coming from, and it was 2 or 3 breathwork sessions later that I started to understand where this was coming from. But it was a huge release. I felt energy moving again in my life. I felt sort of life, as it were, coming back to me again. I'd stepped out from underneath this shadow and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. So that was my first association with this style of breath work that I practice.
Mm-hmm. So then it turns out that the very, very first session you experienced very profound breakthrough.
Yeah.
And you said that you understood that you want to do this for the rest of your life. So can you tell us that, or maybe you can define that this was your intention at that point?
Well, it wasn't my intention at that point. My intention was to find something that was going to allow me to feel alive again, to feel as
Mm-hmm.
though the energy was moving again.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
was something in the way that I was breathing. When I connected with the breath, when I managed to sort of step away from being entangled with what was going on in my mind, the thoughts and the judgments and the beliefs, and I understood intuitively at that point. It wasn't a conscious understanding, but there
Mm-hmm.
was an intuitive understanding that, wow, I've only been here doing this for 5 minutes, breathing this way, and this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
There was this intuitive understanding of the potential that was there in breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
get there in all forms of breath work because, you know,
Mm-hmm.
we're all unique. Yeah? So what works
Mm-hmm.
for you doesn't necessarily work for me, and vice versa, you know. And that's very much my style of breath work. I'm not precious about, you know, how people understanding how I breathe other people and things like this. This is something I think everybody should be doing. Yeah. So, you know, if
You
you
know,
have
Jeffrey.
a taste in your mouth, in the, you know, what do? You go to the bathroom, you get some toothpaste, you clean your teeth. Yeah. So I believe when you wake up feeling shitty about your life and yourself, then the thing you should do is pop down to your local breathwork facilitator and have a session. Breathe it out and just carry on with the rest of your life. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeffrey, I guess you are the right person to ask about breathwork. This. So many people feel that they just exist, they don't live. And of course, it's already first step to recognize what's wrong with my life. But after 35 years of practicing and 25 years of teaching other people, you witnessed so many other experiences with your people around, with those who you teach, with those who you inspire to start breath work as a daily practice. How would you say how soon you personally started to feel that you are alive, and what you see in people around you, because maybe someone will listen to this interview and would consider that after the very, very first session, things will change right away next morning or maybe even next minute. So what would you answer to someone who thinks that this is how it works?
Well, I would agree with them. Miracles happen, and they happen all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot, and nobody can, even the person who's actually having the breathwork session, cannot predict or know truly what the outcome to the breathwork session is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
A breathwork for me, it's not just you know, a form of somatic therapy. It's not just a form of body work here, but I think there's also an aspect of breathwork which is deeply, deeply spiritual. And as Byron Katie said, there are 3 types of business. There's my business, there's everybody else's business, and there's spirit's business. Of the 3, what can I change? I can only change my business. Yeah? I can't change your business or anybody else's business. That's your job. Yeah? And I haven't got a clue what spirit's business is. But what I do know is that spirit guides us. And spirit guides us to the places where we need to be in order to achieve whatever our purpose is in being here, the soul's journey here.
Mm-hmm.
So some people will come into a breathwork session and it will be really explosive, it will be very dramatic, it'll be very cathartic and very physical, and lots of screaming and crying and anger and laughter. And somebody else will come into the same session and it will be just completely zen-like. It will be just like they, they're not there. And yet in both cases, there is something deep and profound happening. And those two people will come again for another breathwork session. And the next breathwork session will be completely different to the first one. So maybe the noisy one gets a quiet breathwork session, and maybe the quiet person gets a noisy breathwork. There is no predicting. Because when you come to the breathwork session, you are who you are at that point in time. And when you leave, you're not the same person that arrived. You've changed things. You've undone some energetic knots in your body. So energy is now flowing differently through you. And how will that manifest in your life? I don't know, because I'm not you. You are unique. So it will be unique how that manifests itself in your life, both during and after the breathwork session. And that's also part, I think, of the magic. When we get to really understand and experience that, it's like getting a Christmas gift, and you have no idea what's inside the box until you take the wrapping off. Here's a breathwork session. There's a gift here, and what you're doing is you're taking the wrapping off to find out what's in there. And my honest understanding is that it's always something beautiful. It's always something amazing. It's a huge, huge, huge gift.
Yes.
It's usually something that we've been bumping into time and time and time and time again. But the breath helps to change our perspective on it, the way we see it now, and how we are able to hold it and integrate it into who we are.
Would you consider breathwork as one of the most powerful tools for transformation?
In my experience, absolutely. And I think the beauty of my style of breathwork, and I'm not saying this in an egotistical way, I have got this secondary birth trauma, which says that it can't be that simple. So in order for things to be real for me, I have this way of making things difficult for myself. So if you like, it's a way of saying a thing can only be real for me if I suffer, and that's been true in the past. It's definitely no longer true now. But so one of the things I learned very early on in my journey in this life is that if something is complicated, then it's not going to work for me, because this part of me that wants to make it difficult will jump on this and just make it not difficult, but really, really difficult. So I started to understand very quickly that if it's simple, it works much better for me. It's much more profound. And so the breathing techniques that I use, the style of breath work I practice is very, very simple. It couldn't get much simpler. And one of the most powerful breathing techniques that I know of is a conscious breath. And how simple is this? It's just feeling the physical sensation of the cool air moving into the body as you breathe in, and feeling the physical sensation of the warmer air as it moves out. I don't believe it comes any simpler than that. Yet that breathing technique, that breathing practice I've just described, has enormously deep, profound effects in the body, both physiologically, neurologically, emotionally, and spiritually. Yeah. And yet it's so simple.
Mm-hmm. Since you are providing breath work not only in individual sessions but also for groups, and you are a trainer of breathwork facilitators, right?
Yes.
So, what can you tell about the field of the group when you are doing breathwork in a, I don't know, in individual sessions, and what's difference with a group session or
Yeah.
group facilitator sessions?
Yeah. So in an individual session, it's just you and the facilitator. You, in an individual session, you're working on something that you want to work on specifically. So you may come saying, "Oh, I've got a lot of stress in my life at the moment." So you can work on that in that breathwork session to work on understanding where and why that stress is coming and releasing the underlying causes to that stress from within your body. Yeah. So as a person who's come to the breathwork facilitator, you have no place to hide there. A good facilitator will keep bringing you back and bringing you back and bringing you back to work with the issue that you want to work with. Yeah. In a group situation, it's much more dynamic, because it's not just you, it's you plus 9, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 other people, depending on how big the group is. And the bigger the group, the bigger the noise, the bigger the energy. Yeah. Because what starts to happen is you start breathing in a group, you breathe into your stuff, and somebody over the other side starts crying. And for whatever reason, it just pisses you off completely. So you get really angry. You use the fact that somebody else, whatever they're doing, is annoying you, and you allow it to use it as a vehicle to be able to release your anger. So now multiply that by the number of people that are in the room having the breathwork session. So we've got
Yeah.
all these little individual energies, and after a little while, there's this other bigger energy arises, which is the energy of the whole group breathing together.
Yes. Yes.
And maybe you're one facilitator with a group of 10 people, or maybe you're 3 people with a group of 10 people. The fact is that you don't have somebody sitting on your doorstep right there, keeping you come back to
Mm-hmm.
breathing. But so there's a little bit more wiggle room, as it were, for the breather in a group breathwork session. But in a group breathwork session, there's so much more energy that is going to not push you, but guide you to into a particular way or something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I experienced the very same thing, even doing online programs
Yeah.
when there are a lot of people together. There is a very specific field of the whole group.
Yeah.
And what I always see that there is no one like coincidentally, even if you think you are here coincidentally, there should be a very profound reason why you are attracted, why you resonated, and why you are in this group.
Yeah.
You should understand something, learn something, go through some special experience. And if I can ask you, I am curious to know why you agreed to come to our first international transformation program, the Turning Point, which will start in January. You, with your 25 years of experience, with your large groups of followers and admirers, and why you are now taking this next step.
Well, the simple answer is you invited me. Yeah. And then you
But you could
smiled.
say no.
Yeah. And then you smiled and your eyes lit up, and that was it. I was gone. Yeah. It felt right to be working with you. Yeah.
No.
And I was also, interested in finding other ways of not being able to promote me or my work, but certainly to promote the benefits of breathwork, any style. And I
Yeah.
mean, whether, people listening to this video actually come and join the Turning Point, and I would really recommend that they do, because I know already, even though we've not done it yet, it's going to be really amazing, absolutely amazing. But I would really support any and all of you to go out there and find a breathwork facilitator.
Yes.
Dive into this stuff and play with it. The breath is just unbelievable as a transformational tool. And I do not believe, I know that we have not got to the bottom of this yet, as it were, with the breath. There is so much more that we have to learn, not just in terms of, like scientific knowledge or scientific rational understanding of what is possible with the breath, but I think in our own journeys of self-discovery, where breath can take us, because it really can take us to places that we would never, ever, in a month of Sundays, think about going to. So that there is something also potentially revelational about using the breath in terms of a tool to enable transformation for the individual or for the group. Yeah. And just to come back to what you were saying about the group, I mean, I often say this when we come together in a group, because I don't believe in coincidences. There is no such thing as coincidence. Yeah? There's just synchronicity at work. This is spirit. This is the hand of spirit coming in and bringing these people together. Some of these people you may know, some of you will have never met before. But every individual in that group has a gift for everybody else in that group. And that's the gift that Spirit's bringing in there. The fact that that person over there, when they were crying, really got me activated and angry, that's the gift that Spirit's giving me here. Because Spirit understands I need a little bit of extra help here in order to be able to release and express my anger in a safe way. Yeah. Because I've never been, I've never ever found a safe way to be able to express that anger. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this for me is also another thing about the differences between individual and group sessions. And it's the same with training courses. It's the same like with the turning point. The people who sign up for this will also have gifts for everybody else that's signing up for it as well. That can be shared in the chat, that can be shared in the Facebook group, yeah, and with us, of course, on the calls that we do when we do them, in the comments and so on that we've got that are rolling through here. Yeah.
So what I experienced last year with the first such type of transformation program, when we did with my Latvian colleagues masters Qigong and Breathwork and daily meditations and my specific timeline healing meditations when you go to your past experiences, that it's a very powerful tool when many methods come together with one or two main intentions.
Yeah.
So that every master, every member of the group are committed to one main big intention, which is crucial for your next step in your life, for your ability to move forward, to your ability to let go everything what holds you back. And of course, you can reach it by attending private sessions with different masters, maybe. But that's totally another way of working with yourself. And not everyone is ready for something like that and not interested. And the second thing, from the other hand, you don't always find the right master, the right guidance through this journey, and sometimes people feel like disappointed because the session was not what I expected, and then they think that all the masters of that method kind of don't know what they are doing, or this method just simply doesn't work for me. But actually, that's the thing, that when several masters come together, they know each other, they witnessed each other's abilities to help people. And I think this is amazing opportunity for large amounts of people to come to our program, because we will really all work together
Yeah,
on those intentions: forgiveness to
yeah,
yourself, forgiveness to other people, acceptance of myself, and then acceptance of world, and love, 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 of course, love. But it's very easy to say those words and to say that I want to forgive, I want to accept. But if you still don't feel like you are forgiving or accepting, it means something is holding you back. And maybe
yes,
you don't even realize that there is something,
yeah.
right? How could you
Yeah.
comment this?
So I think this is where the tool that we're offering come in. Um, you know, what Michael's going to be doing with the Qigong, what you're going to be doing with the timeline healing, what I'm going to be offering with the breathing exercises and the meditations, and um, a form of breathwork session as well with people. Um, these are all tools that are going to allow us to deepen into the mystery of who we are. You know, and that mystery is something that's filled with grace and magic. You know?
Yes.
And it as we deepen into that mystery that we rise in love with ourselves. You know?
Hmm. What would you
And
say
I
to
think that
someone?
sorry.
What would you say to someone who is listening to you and who is considering, like, but I don't think I have a problem with forgiveness. I think everything is fine.
Yeah.
Or with this,
So the first thing is that forgiveness is not a one-way street. It's a two-way street, and it's like experience. We tend to, because we live in this dualistic world. We live in a world which separates me from you, not just physically, because you're in Los Angeles and I'm in Denmark, but both emotionally and spiritually too. And the world we live in supports that. Yeah, it, it's like this divide and rule type thing. So if we can keep you all separated, then it's fine. We can, you know, we don't have to worry about you. But our truth is that we are not separate. We're definitely alone, but we're alone together. And that's a fundamental understanding of the nature of who we are. Uh, that I cannot be who I am without you being who you are. There is this interconnectedness, this interbeing of all things in the universe. And if we take one little thing out, it changes the whole balance of everything. So what is can no longer be as it was, then it has to change and shift in order to reflect the fact that that thing is now gone. Yeah. And with respect to forgiveness, I think forgiveness is it's a doorway. I mean, the things that you're talking about, forgiveness, acceptance, and love, these are doorways. And they're not doorways that we don't know. We have been brought to these doorways time and time and time and time again. This is what spirit does. Maybe it doesn't look like it's the same doorway, but it is the same doorway. It's just dressed up differently. And
mhm,
the question is, are you going to step through it? And in order to
yes,
step through it, you have to let go of things. Because all the stuff that we're carrying that is built into, you know, this belief about who I am, I have to fundamentally start to drop that and let it go so that I can start to truly understand who I am. And forgiveness is the first step. It's the first step in this journey, absolutely. Without being able to forgive myself for the things that I feel that I've done wrong, that I feel I could do better, then
mhm,
I'm going to remain stuck. And the forgiveness is going to be like the thank you that you give to somebody who gives you, you know, a pair of socks as a Christmas present that you don't need. You know, it's sort of there, but it's hollow. It has no meat to it. There's no real oomph in it. There's no connection there.
Yes.
And forgiveness, in the sense that we're talking about here, it's actually the precursor to compassion. The doorway that it opens the doorway to compassion. And compassion is, wow. It's, I mean, that's a whole other energy, completely. But forgiveness is an essential part of being able to reach compassion, true compassion. So I think fundamentally it's a really, really beautiful place to begin a program like this, is with forgiveness. And techniques that we can use for practicing forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And
Jeffrey, uh, what would you say to someone who's listening to us, to our interview, and who would literally scream at us like, what forgiveness you're talking about? My only problem is, where is my money? And my wife doesn't love me, and my kids are not listening to me, and I just want a promotion in my work, and I want to change where I live. What's forgiveness? What are you talking about? What
yeah,
would you what would you say to someone like that?
yeah. I'd say, is it really true that your wife doesn't love you? Is it really true that your children are not listening to you? Is it really true that you don't have the money you need? And to answer those questions, I think you have to look inside. So I don't know whether you love me or not, but I know that I love myself. And as I deepen into that loving, it allows you to love me more, or no, not love me more, but it allows me to receive more love from you. So if I only love myself this much, that's how much love I can give and how much love I can receive. When I love myself this much, that's how much love I can give and how much I can receive. Now imagine if I take that away and I love myself that much. How much love can I receive? Wow. Yeah. It's the same with forgiveness. So underneath forgiveness is love. I cannot forgive myself if I don't love myself. So we start small. If I love myself this much, okay, I can give myself this much. But the forgiveness allows this to expand so I can love myself more. As I love myself more, I can forgive myself more. And so it goes and goes and goes and goes. And in understanding the truth of forgiveness, when I can truly forgive myself for the things I've said or not said, for the things I've done or not done, it's only then that I can actually allow that energy of forgiveness to be handed to others. Because in forgiving myself, I'm starting to begin to understand the real fundamental nature of my own suffering. And that is the path of liberation. So in deepening into this understanding of who I am, it allows me to understand potentially who the other is, but not in some way of knowing how you're feeling or who they are or what's going on for them, but in just recognizing this thing of being alone together, the togetherness. If this is true for me, it has to be somewhat true for you as well. Yeah. So if I struggle in forgiving myself, it's pretty safe to assume that others struggle in forgiving themselves as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
Jeffrey, when I first met you in September, and we had a chance to talk for 1 or 2 hours, very first our conversation. And during the conversation and after that, I felt like you are a happy person.
Yeah.
You are. And this is something what you cannot fake. This is not something what you can describe in words. You
Mm.
cannot put it in words, actually. And sometimes words are very loud, but from your inner self, from your heart, you don't feel this, that person is happy.
Mm.
But you are a happy person. This is what I feel coming from you. So my last question for today's our beautiful conversation would be, Geoffrey, with everything you accomplished in your life, with everything you went through in your life, and at the point where you are right now in your life, will you be ready to share with us what is your biggest dream right now?
Oh. Mm. My biggest dream is to continue this journey, this amazing journey that's my life, yeah. And meeting the amazing people that I meet in my life, yeah. And honoring the gifts that they bring for me.
Amazing
And,
dream.
yeah, and to be able to hopefully pass some of that understanding on to my daughter, my children. Uh, but I mean, I'm not attached to that last little bit because I know it's their journey, and you know, I can tell them what I know, what I understand. I can offer them my wisdom, but they then will find their own wisdom, and that's really, really beautiful too.
Mhm.
Yeah. So just to be allowed to continue to do this, you know, for
Yes.
another breath or two, or three, or four, yeah. And to I hopefully communicate that to the people I meet in my life, yeah.
Mhm.
Because it's in fact happiness is infectious. It's worse than COVID-19. Yeah. There's no cure for it. Absolutely. Once you're infected with it, you can't stop it. It's rampant. Yeah. It runs through the whole system. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you for sharing this with us. We are happy to be with you. And
Thank you.
thank you for the work you are doing. And I really hope that as much as possible, we will be able to help people. We will be able to spread our understanding of life and our healings
Yeah.
to this world, to people. And thank you so much. And how I always say, let's keep rowing, keep
Yes.
rowing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
And
thank you for putting this opportunity together and being willing to take that step and bring it out of Latvia into the rest of the world, because I'm sure we're ready for it. Yeah. Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you to everyone who listened to us and who will be listening later on in recording. We will be happy if you will share this video with people who, for whom it would be great value. And we will be happy to see you in our program in January.
Yep.
The information will follow,
Yep.
and see you soon.
Yep. Keep in touch.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.